Uh, Welcome everyone to our next installment of Neat Conversation, where me and Austin, New England Whiskey, Moon's Tavern, have a full-on conversation about anything and everything. We're unscripted, just like this intro. It changes every week or every episode. Um, where of course we have some good fun, some good conversation, and of course some neat pours.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a hot minute, huh? We both been like super busy.
I know.
You're always traveling all over the place, man. It's hard to keep up with you.
Yeah, I'm always on the move, but my next travel I'm pretty excited about. So I
There
can't
you go.
can't complain with that. So
Yeah. No, it's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be great. Be a good time. So what are we doing today? Obviously, I got two bottles here that kind of tells us what we're doing here, but that
yeah,
you were the brainchild on this one. So why don't you explain it?
yeah. So we decided to go with a Weeder side by side off here. We got some of my favorite stuff here from North Carolina. We got the Paragon by Southern Distilling, and then we got the classic. We're recording on a Wednesday, but you got to go with that Weller Wednesday too, and go with the 107. So I hear a lot of comparisons that the Paragon can be the 107 killer. I don't know, but we'll drink through it and figure out what we think.
So your first initial, you're already drinking. Yeah, on it. You messed it all up. Nah, your first initial thought process. what are you thinking? I mean, like I said, you're the bigger Buffalo Trace guy than me. Obviously, I've had both of them. As you can see, that the bottles have been drank down a little bit. But what is your what is your initial opinion?
I mean, the one thing is they're a little difficult to compare because you're drinking one at cask strength and one as it comes out at 107 proof. Obviously, it's a little different. So, I think I did just do a small pour of the cask strength first, so I think I'm actually going to switch it up and go to the 107 just because starting with cask strength and then drinking down is going to affect my palate, and naturally so, and that's just with anything. So I think you kind of are going to get the difference from a cask strength to just a regular reader.
So what is the proof on your cask strength that you got?
Mine is coming in at 117, a little more.
Okay.
I can't read their exact writing, but about 117.
Brandon probably did it, and he like scribbled it on there, and no one can understand what it says.
Yeah.
What's funny is mine's actually 107.9.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm like,
okay.
I'm almost like right there at the at the point of being at the 107. So I did this before when I first popped it open, and of course Brandon asked me my opinion, and I'll share my opinion. You gave me yours, so I guess that's only fair enough, right? That's what makes it a conversation here. But I thought that the Southern Stars was great, but man, it just did not. They're two totally drastic differences. Where this one, I mean, like if I'm nosing it and just coming off of it, I mean, I do get some cherry, but I get more of a nutty, almost like a sundae, that has maybe a sundae that has a little bit of the milk chocolate with the nuts on it, with the cherry on top, with maybe even a little bit of whipped cream. But it's completely drastically different than the cherries and the caramel, brown sugar. It's more predominant in this one. And this one, again, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's hard to compare them. It's almost like comparing a Larceny Weeder to a Buffalo Trace Weeder. I mean, it's just, you really can't compare it. It's apples and oranges as far as the flavor profile and taste profile.
Well, truthfully, I'm a little jealous of your comparison because you're so much closer in proof point that you're probably you have to be a bit more spot on than me. I'm over 10 proof points different, which in the grand scheme of things isn't crazy, but it definitely does make a difference. Like if I go cask strength back to just the regular 107, I'm going to be on completely different mouthfeel, completely different palate feel than I'm going to get from that cask strength. So, the cask strength definitely is going to overpower me all night, which is why I'm going to start with the 107 for a little bit and then move back to the cask strength.
So what are you getting on the nose on your Southern Star? I'm curious to see if it's anywhere near remotely what I just described, or do you have a completely different experience?
Yeah, so mine, it also is going to depend on our batches. They don't specifically say a batch on these as far as I know.
So which one is yours? Mine is the Greens Booming Private Selection.
Oh, so
it's
yours
aged
might be
5 years and 11 months.
So yours might be a pick.
Yeah, mine is absolutely a pick for Greensboro ABC.
Okay.
And
so mine is definitely probably a bit older then. Mine is definitely a Southern Star before they fully got on their own North Carolina distillate. So mine is a bit older in terms of that. So we might be differing there a little bit. Yeah, I don't get a ton of that cherry that you mentioned either. I do get a little bit of that. You know, I don't know if it's exactly plum, but I definitely get a bit of like a dark fruit, whether it's an apricot. I don't know if I full get that apricot smell, but I definitely get a little bit of that dark fruit notes coming through a little bit more than I am on the cherry.
Who was it you said that they were sourcing? Who were they sourcing from? Was it MVP or?
I don't think they released it. I know it was, I think it definitely rested in North Carolina, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, mine's distilled, aged, and bottled by Southern Distilling Company. So this is their distillate, absolutely. And like I said, it's interesting because I could totally see me picking this on certain days, but it's like, I'm a big Weller 107 fan, so it's one of those things that I could see me going both ways on it as far as which one, just depending, and you know how it is, man. You get one day you have more of an inclination of picking one over the other. It's not something that, I know everyone, and I don't know why they always say it in this retrospect where they're like, well, what is your daily drinker? I don't really have a daily drinker. I mean, when you have options of so many different things, I mean, it's just like, I don't want to drink the same thing every single day,
Yeah.
and if I did, it would be, a disservice to all the other stuff that I got. I feel like I'd be cheating on something, I mean, it's just like, hey, I gotta try to open up, and drink everything that I have to a certain extent, not at all at the same time, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, as far as bouncing around on it.
Yeah, and so I think I misspoke when I said their own distillate. Now that I'm thinking back to my tour with Southern Star when I went there a couple years ago, I didn't mean to say own distillate. I meant to say all North Carolina grains. So they've recently switched where they were getting their grains from other parts. It wasn't all just North Carolina based. Now I believe they're starting their process with all North Carolina grains and everything.
Yeah, that's what it says. It says from our local grains to your glass. So it's grain to glass.
Yeah.
Completely all that Southern Distilling. So when the one that you have, you're saying that it was distilled by Southern Star. It's just the grains were coming from different locations.
Right, exactly. So I misspoke when I said their own distillate there, because that is very, very different than what I meant to articulate there. So
no, I understand. Well, I'm glad you cleared that up. So now I have to ask you this, and I should probably know this just because I've tried so many other things as well. But can you really tell a difference between the grains that's coming from, let's say, i.e. a North Carolina to a Midwest grain to a whatever, whether it be an Indiana or like a Texas corn, as far as all of that? I mean, have you really done like a moonshine, I guess, kind of thing to see if you can really tell the difference in the different distillates and as far as the grains?
I've tried different things. I'm familiar with MGP. I've had things from Texas. I have Tennessee whiskey. But I don't really know if I would be able to pull the grains and say, like, This is a grain from North Carolina. This is a grain from Texas. This is a grain from Indiana. Like, not to completely change brands, but obviously Sagamore and Maryland is really known, kind of for that rye process. Um, and now that, Sagamore, I hear, is they're also doing something similar to what we're talking about with Southern Star, where they're getting a lot of their own stuff. They're on their own distillate now out there in Maryland too. But I don't know if I'd be able to pull the grains. Like, this rye came from Pennsylvania. I don't think I'm that geography inclined. I'm barely able to tell you where states land on a map. So